Okay, it's Sue here today again, and I'm very privileged to have Angela Sims with us. And Angela's going to share her knowledge, a really vital piece of knowledge around how people respond differently to change. Now, to introduce Angela, Angela was CEO of an award-winning housing association, and she led that very successfully for many years. But for the last 18 years, she's been helping senior teams make sharper and better decisions. She specifically goes in with teams that are finding it difficult to make decisions. They're getting stuck. The way in which they're communicating together means that they're not able to make decisions and move forward. And Angela comes in with a very unique perspective and unlocks that. And she's been doing that for the past 18 years. So we're going to get a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience speaking to us today about how different people respond to change differently. So let me hand over to Angela. Angela, away.
Hello, Sue. Hello, Sue. And what a beautiful day it is today. But we are in this moment of change. And we've always had change, haven't we? Yes. We've had change around in terms of lots of things that happen, particularly in organisations and at corporate levels and in our personal life. But each one of us has a different approach to how we adapt to the change. And that's what I would like just to share with you today. And these insights are insights that are not often talked about or even known about. So we're in for some very interesting conversation. And please ask me any questions at any time, Sue.
Will do.
Right?
Will do.
Okay.
Yes.
So what we're looking at is how do different people adapt? And so adaptation is very easy to see when somebody seems to embrace the change.
Yes.
So we are going through a situation with COVID-19. For some people, they're embracing actually being at home. Mm. And what I want to show you is two cartoons that actually highlight the differences between the different ways that people embrace this the adaptation of themselves. So if you bear with me, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to just show you this cartoon. So we've got here two cartoons. Yes. And this man on this island, he's highly adaptable. He has adapted himself to the change.
Yes.
So suddenly COVID-19's happened and this person is at home. But he's at home and really happy at being at home, as well as being able to be at work.
Yeah.
On the other side, this is low adaptability. So this person is somebody who has come from, in this case, a conventional office, was expected to wear a suit and would be at home in a conventional way with the suit. And what this person has done is they've adapted the environment to themselves. So they have still remained the same, but the environment is different. Whereas the highly adaptable person here, has adapted themselves to the environment in which they sit.
Yes.
So I'm just going to come out from here so we can just carry on talking. Yes. So those two different kinds sometimes create real difficulties. So somebody I was working with recently in the last few days, when I spoke to her in the morning, and she's in a very top influential policy role that is required by government and is being approached all the time to have this information that can then be given out by government. So it's very, very pressured. And when I spoke to her, we were doing a decision coaching session. She had started work at 8:15 in the morning. And the previous day, she had finished at 9 o'clock at night, and she'd had half an hour for lunch. Mm. And what she has is something called, she had that low adaptability. So she had taken herself from work. Mm. She'd arrived in her home. She was there with a large number of other adults as well, adult children who were also at home. But she had forgotten what she was doing when she was at work. Because when she was at work, she would finish work, get on a bus, go on the underground, and arrive home.
Yeah,
and she had forgotten that part. She was adapting the world around her of home to herself and had forgotten the bits. So indeed, and that low adaptability at that point, until we had that conversation and I showed her on her profile that is what she was doing, it was really a shock for her, because what she was doing...
She'd never received the cue that work had now finished by going home on the bus.
Correct, absolutely.
Work never finished for her. She just kept going.
Not at all. And what would have happened if she'd carried on working like that? So this was last week, is that she would have fallen over, she would have been ill, and actually work would not have got the immense knowledge that she has. That is so important to us as society.
Her best because she would have been exhausted. So
absolutely. So that's low adaptability. But then if you imagine the high adaptability, so this is somebody who can adapt, and they can adapt in any way. So they can be walking around with a swimsuit on at home and really adapting. But for them, being at work between 9 and 5 isn't adapting. They can work at night. They can work at any time, not in the fixed hours.
Okay.
Because they've adapted themselves to home. And home doesn't have fixed hours like that.
No.
So those two forms of adapting are sometimes judged. So the high adaptability, somebody who's changed into their
swimsuit,
dancing and maybe not available at that time, there will be judgment from people who there
can be a huge judgment about they're not taking things seriously.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yet I have heard the other. I did hear someone who said that there was an announcement this was a big financial institution, and there was an announcement by the top people, and they appeared on the Zoom call in suits with ties.
Yeah.
And the criticism from the younger people, or the more junior people, was, what a shame we didn't have an opportunity to see the human side of them.
Correct.
Why did they feel that they needed to come to work, or they felt that they had to come to this Zoom call with that uniform on, that formalized uniform on, and they got critiqued by the younger and more junior people.
Now, and you could take that as being that actually the culture at the very top had low adaptability as the culture.
Now that, of course, lends us to how fit are the leadership team if they are collectively showing low adaptability.
Correct.
Particularly when, to be quite frank, this crisis has thrown all the balls into the air in terms of, people are questioning how we're going to work in the future, having had this experience. Our needs, our products, our wants have all changed as a result. So a leadership team that displays low adaptability, for me, wouldn't elicit trust. But then maybe that's a judgment.
I think that yes, but what they're doing, people who have low adaptability, they're making use of what already exists. That's what they're doing. So they're taking from where they are and they're using it.
Yes.
High adaptability, what they're able to do is they're reassessing things, and they are acting in accordance with that redefined situation. The redefined situation is they're at home. Yeah. So they've redefined the situation and they're able to do that.
Yeah.
What is the most important thing about all of this is not to judge. And in having more understanding about how the adapting can be so different, the judgment of it is the thing that teams need to work together on to actually understand.
So what's the benefit of low adaptability and the benefit of high adaptability within a team?
Well, I would say that the benefit on low adaptability is the willingness to take action that's based on past experience. and existing information. So people just come with where their experiences of where they've been.
Okay.
So that's the benefit. So it's a known product, it's a known time, it's known ways of working. They will get on and do it. The benefits of the high adaptability is around the ability to reassess a situation, because they have reassessed it. I'm no longer in the office, I'm on my island, I'm at home. I've reassessed what is going on, and therefore I've redefined myself, and in redefining myself I'm doing something differently.
So a successful team or leadership team has those that are low and high.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. You don't want one or the other. Yeah, you don't want one or the other. You do want that. Or if you are all high adapters or you're all low adapters, to really understand that somewhere in your organisation you need the others.
You need the others. So those that are low adaptable will tend to only do what we've done before.
Yeah.
A team that's made up of solely high adaptables will start creating all kinds of things and go spinning off in some magical direction.
Correct.
What we actually need are the both in one team.
Yes. Because
non-judgment, without judging each other. Yes.
Correct. Without the judgment. Yeah, absolutely. Without having that judgment about it.
Yes.
And in this very microscopic pressured situation, then judgment obviously comes out.
Because when we're stressed, we tend to judge.
Yeah. Yes. So a good take on it.
Yeah. Are there any tricks to working well with people that are opposite to you?
Yeah. I think that the trick in terms of understanding low adaptability is to first of all, not to judge. Somebody working those hours is doing that for really good reasons that are bigger than themselves. But to help them put in place some of these definitions of how to care for yourself, and in also doing it to really understand that if somebody is making use of something that already exists, then how do you use that in the office at other times? How do you use in high adaptability this ability to reassess a situation? So using that also in times of a normal time. How do you actually use adaptability to make changes? Because that's what this is also saying.
I could see, if you're chairing a meeting and you're needing to make a decision and you've got high adaptability and low adaptability, I mean, I would go to the low adaptability and I would say, what's worked in the past?
Correct.
What have we learned from past experience? And ask them for that dependable stuff. Then I'd go to the high adaptables and say, okay, give us some man ideas here.
Absolutely. It is that kind of, exactly. It is different. It's the phrase horses for courses.
Yeah.
And that perspective of awe.
Yeah. And then to appreciate both perspectives and perhaps make a joke about some of us in this meeting may be thinking that's an idea that's too mad.
Absolutely.
But actually, is there some water? Is there some? Could there be something in it?
Yeah.
You need to think about this, and then perhaps turning to those at low and saying, what do you think? So it's this appreciation, isn't it?
It is appreciation, and always in decision making, it is about having that breadth. Always having the breadth, always having that variety.
This gives me an understanding now, actually, Angela, of your work. Because if you don't have that understanding and that non-judgment and that appreciation of different approaches to the same problem, you can then get into deadlock and not actually make a decision at all.
Correct. Or else what the other aspect that happens is that decisions appear to be made but aren't made. Because a decision will be happened and then it will all be unrolled. Because, for somebody who has low adaptability, they really need to know that they stand by that consistency.
Yes.
And so if they are being asked by high adapters to continually change and adapt,
Yeah.
They're wondering why. Why am I doing this? I don't need to do this.
Oh,
Whereas it's a very, and it will unwind.
well, I've definitely been in meetings where people have kind of been bullied. Might be wrong, might be a strong word, but a decision. We need to make a decision. Let's just make a decision. We're going to go for that. And then what happens is that everyone leaves the meeting room, and nothing actually happens as a result of that substantive decision.
Yeah. And that thing that you're saying of nothing happening is simply because you haven't got everybody lined up in their decision making in the place that's getting them into commitment.
Okay.
What is happening is some people are in commitment, i.e. wanting it to happen. Other people are still trying to discover things, and they will reach the same time. They will get there mostly in the same time, but it will just be that they need more time. And then they will pop through, and very quickly sometimes.
So with those with low adaptability, when you've got a new idea, you need to spend the time telling them, explaining and really allowing them to assimilate why this decision is
important. Indeed. And to remove the judgment.
And to remove the judgment. Not be short-tempered or don't you get it kind of thing. But don't you get it? This is obviously what we need to do. Why are you taking all this time about saying this?
Because often there will be essences in somebody's appreciation of the consistency of something that the high adapters haven't thought about.
That's very true, actually, because the high adapters can dash off, forgetting that the IT system actually has already got some problems. I'm not sure the IT system has got the capacity without buying a new server that we've already decided we're not going to buy.
Indeed.
Stuff they're asking us to do.
Very good.
Because there is wild creativity and then there's grounding, isn't there?
There is.
You need to have both in order to make effective decisions going forward.
Definitely. And then what happens is that there is an ease. The understanding brings ease.
Oh, tell me more about that.
The understanding brings ease when people's own pattern is allowed to flow through.
Yes.
And people can then be part of the adaptation and be seen as being part of that.
So from your work, you've seen teams in conflict not actually making decisions or making a decision it not being acted on.
Yes, definitely.
And when they've done this work with you and got this appreciation of each other's different styles and what they need in order to fully buy into a decision, they've gained this sense of ease. Tell me more about how teams feel after working with you.
I think the feedback that we get each time is that there's a lot more humour, there's a lot more understanding, and there's a lot more give and take because the patterns are fixed. So if you're wanting somebody to be different from being somebody who's a low adapter to being a high adapter, that's not going to happen. So because there is a real knowledge, and yet in some cases being a low adapter may be more important at a particular time than being a high adapter. And so that it becomes a way of getting people alongside each other. And it's just the judgment of expecting people to be different when actually people aren't able to do that switch and change. What they can do is signpost, this is how I work and this is what I need to help me to adapt.
I need to think about it.
Yeah, I need to think about it. I may need more time. I need to be able to be in my little bubble and to work it through, or I need to share it with someone. But each time it creates a cohesiveness in a team, and it is a long-term cohesiveness because
so this understanding creates cohesiveness, humour, and do they find in the feedback you've had, do they find decision making easier and more effective?
It becomes well, the main thing that happens is it shortens the length of time, because as you rightly said, you've had moments when things have rolled back or nothing happens going forward. What happens is that the right people who have those elements in their decision making can bring things forward and work on something that perhaps others are not interested in, are bored because it's not part of their normal pattern. And the result of that is it pushes it through into commitment and things happening in a quicker way.
Well, I mean, you've sold me on this, because this coronavirus, we are being forced to make quick decisions, aren't we?
We are.
And change is happening to us, whether we like it or not, immediately.
Yes.
And so to have a team that is able to understand and respect and really value the difference in this, that leads to quicker decisions, is crucial.
It is, and it's such a beautiful, profound thing. It's very enjoyable for people. It's very enjoyable. And that's it's enjoyable.
Spreading that board meeting or that team meeting or that strategy meeting or whatever, they actually start enjoying it.
Enjoying is a good word, isn't it? To actually have that. Yes. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Is there anything you'd like to add before we close, Angela?
I think we've had an incredible shape and a dive from adaptability right the way through to decision making. It's been fabulous. Thank you very much.
Wonderful to hear this. And this whole thing about understanding difference, I just find it fascinating. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
And thank you as well.
Thank you, Angela. Bye.
Bye.